You can listen to the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with host Matt Beadle and the members of the Millwall No One Likes Us talking team every Friday night between 9 and 10 p.m.
You are listening to the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins. I'm delighted to say, for one night only, they have allowed me to sub in for Matt Beadle. I'm quite scared what could happen in the next hour, but I'm delighted to be with these three tonight because I am a fan of the show. I used to tech up the show, and now I get to sit in the studio. Finally, I've made it onto the field. I'm delighted to be in the studio with George Lampy, Jeff Burnage and Stan Godwin. Fellas, just an absolute pleasure. We do have to talk everything where Millwall is concerned, and as always, you can get in touch. You can tweet us at Love Sport Radio, or you can call us on 0208 70 20 558. For the next hour, though, everything where the Lions are concerned, we are going to be talking about it here. It was the international break. Sometimes people say, it's come at the wrong time. Momentum, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. Recharge those batteries. Stan, I'll start with you. Do you think, even though it is a small sample size at 6 games into the Championship season, did it come at the right or wrong time for Millwall?
Personally, I when they do the international breaks, I have no problem with them, right? I mean, because I don't see anything wrong with it now. I just think it's fine. I mean, you get them in, didn't you? And I suppose one of the benefits is that the amount of players that you then have go away, obviously depending on the club, but they then go away on the break, and then the manager can work with the other people, and you can then get some people who might be a bit under the weather, fitter, and all the rest of it. So I think there's many benefits there. But no, I look forward to the international break, right? Because it gives you a chance to recharge the batteries. And being an England fan, I mean, I love to watch England. But I'm glad when the international break's over, we can get back to the bread and butter.
Obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, Jeff. You know, if Millwall beat Blackburn on the weekend, the international break was a fantastic thing. We've been able to work on a few things, but can it hinder the progress sometimes?
The point I'd like to make is that in order to create that transfer, that period of time, what do you call it, international break, we've had to play 8 games in 4 weeks leading up to it.
And a very quiet
That's
September.
the price we have to pay.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not all milk and honey, Stan. We've had to pay.
Just because you're happy, Stan, it don't mean the rest of us
No,
are.
if Stan's not happy, I'll find a way to argue with him, as you well know.
But, Jeff, that is the same for every Championship club. They've all had to play 7 games, 6 for the Championship, 1 in the league.
I've got no complaints about the international break. Is it an advantage? Who you never know, do you? But I agree with Stan. It does sharpen your appetite for the next game. When you've had to wait 2 weeks for a game, we all remember what it felt like last Saturday when there was no game to think about. No Millwall game to think about anyway. So, yeah, I'm glad it's over. Can't wait for tomorrow.
Well, George, what do you think?
Well, it's nice to see you face to face, Charlie, rather than you watching our back.
Yeah, well, this is it. I normally have to listen from behind, when you're getting calls from curry houses and people being phoned in. So this time it's nice to talk to you all three in person.
I think it came at the right time, actually, for us. It gave us a little bit of chance to recharge our batteries. We had a few players on international duty. I mean, if I was to just talk about Shane Ferguson, he played for Northern Ireland. He had quite a good game. The boy's been doing good for us. He hasn't always got in the team as a first team member. He never lets us down. So anything that he gets international-wise, I'm delighted for the boy. He played the other night, last week. He didn't get into the German game, but they lost that, so let's say that if he had been there, they might have won. So, no, I'm delighted for the boy, and we had a few other players, didn't we? So, I'm happy for the break, and hopefully, as you say, come Saturday, if it's a good result, we'll be laughing. If not.
Well, one of the benefits of the international break is that, the players, they might go and win and score and pick up a bit of momentum, bring that back into the Millwall side. Obviously, the negative of the international break is hopefully they don't come back with an injury. Stan, I want to ask you, what about Jason Malumbi?
Well, I mean, I've only seen him on the television, right? And I've seen his passing range. I mean, it's absolutely superb. Now, I ain't the only one who's seen him. There's other people who've been seeing him. And even before the international break, there were people down at Millwall who were saying, well, hang on a minute, because we was all being told that this potentially was the new Roy Keane and all that. I mean, whether that's true or not, that's another matter. But people were then saying, well, we want to see him. Now, having seen all this, I mean, when they turn up tomorrow, a lot of people, the first people, when they see the Millwall team sheet, the first player they're going to be looking for on that team sheet is Malumbi. And if he ain't there, they're going to, the questions are going to be asked.
I think the thing that's been to the team's advantage, to the manager's advantage, is if you look at the players that have been away, they all needed games, right? Bodvarsson wasn't starting, Ferguson wasn't starting, Malumbi wasn't starting. So I think it's a blessing for Neil. They've gone away and they've got match fit. So that is a good one. But yeah, it'll be a shame if people watching the game just want Malumbi in. I saw somebody online yesterday picking their ideal team. They had 4-3-3. They had 3 centre forwards and 3 attacking midfield players. They wouldn't last very long in the job. And it was in order to pick on one of Millwall's defensive midfield players, who at the moment people would rather see someone flashy rather than him. No names, everyone knows what I'm talking about. So I don't think Malumbi will be starting tomorrow. I doubt if Bodvarsson will be starting. I doubt if Shane will be starting. Neil's been working with a team for the last 2 weeks. But last season, we had no choice who was playing up front. Now, we've got what Man United did all those years ago. They had Dwight York and Andy Cole, and they had Teddy Sheringham and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Right, and it worked. And I think having competition for places will work. And I don't think those players will start tomorrow. Maybe I'll be wrong, but they'll all play a lot of games this season.
Well, like you see, I slightly disagree with Jeff there about last season.
They always disagree, Charlie.
because the reason I say that is because Millwall at that time they broke the transfer record for Tom Bradshaw, and he's sitting on the bench week in and week out, right? And people were saying, well, hang on a minute, we've paid £1 million here for a player. What's he doing sitting on the bench, right? Because we had up front Lee Gregory and Steve Morrison. Now again, you see, this is the crux of the issue, and it's the same with Malumbi, right? Okay, we've seen him at international. Everyone's raving about him, right? But until we actually see him on the pitch in a Millwall shirt, we ain't going to know how good he is. And if this bloke's as good as he is, why is he sitting on the bench? Because he's better than there's 2 people sitting in midfield that he's better than.
Well, Stan, let me ask you then, how annoying is it for Millwall fans that when a player's not getting minutes for your club, but then they are playing on the international break for your country? Is there a little bit we can't really work out why?
Well, no, because it's a different thing altogether, isn't it? Because the manager, for example, Malumbi's playing him at, is it Mick McCarthy for the Republic? He's playing out there, right? He can do that, but it's annoying when you get these players that you sign them, they're being lauded by everyone. This is the bloke I've been after for free transfer windows, and he's sitting on a bench, and you think, well, what's all that about?
Well, on that basis, Dewey Shalak will be in your team then.
Who?
Scalak will be in your team then.
Well, he's another one, because what I'm saying is, no, but it's true.
You can't pick players, Stan, because you paid money for
the
him.
gun here, Charlie. He's loaded the gun, haven't you?
No, what I'm saying is, last season we signed Scalak. Harris is interviewed in the press and comes out with a statement, I've been after him for free transfer wins. That's 18 months he's been after him. Then you think, well, where is he then? Why ain't he playing him then?
Jeff, you disagree?
I do, because whenever you put a player in the team, you've got to have a reason for leaving the other one out.
Well, that's true.
Right? So when they all say, we want so-and-so in the team, my first question is, right, who are you going to leave out? And it often keeps people quiet for a few seconds while they think about it. But look, we will see Malumbi. The reason he hasn't started the season was he was injured. He wasn't match fit. He didn't do a pre-season. Neil's done the right thing. He hasn't rushed him in. This international break's come at a great time for him, and you will see that boy in the team in due course. Maybe not every game. Maybe the 2 strikers will be rotated. Who knows?
Well, I think you make a good point, Jeff, actually, about our 3 players that have got in the international matches there, because, they're not in the first team, so, I think that was a very clever point you made, actually. There you go.
I love Bodvarsson.
But
I think Bodvarsson will play more than most of the strikers.
I think the way it works is Neil has his team that he has at the moment. It's early days. I think Malumbi will get in the team, and when he's in the team, I don't think he'll be out of it.
Well, let's hope he gets in it sooner rather than later then. That's
Well, let's hope for our sake, Stan, because you're driving us mad.
The battle was already begun.
Who are you going to play with him, Stan, in that position?
Stan, before you answer that, just very quickly,
Oh,
we
right.
have had a call into the studio. It's very exciting indeed. I'm delighted to say we've got Paul Mitchell on the line now. Paul, thank you so much for calling in, giving us a little bit of your time. Obviously, we want to speak. We want to speak about your boy. You must be delighted and proud with Billy playing for the Lions.
Oh, exceptionally, yeah. He's very proud dad. He's done exceptionally well. Let's hope it continues.
But Paul, hello mate, it's George here.
Hi, George.
I was there at Wigan when he came on. I was standing next to you, wasn't I? Basically, that was a proud day for you, obviously, and the family. And then Oxford came along, and it just gets better and better, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it does. It's been a long journey. I'm sure there's many a parent who's been through the same as I have. But yeah, Oxford was unbelievable a few weeks ago. He did himself proud, he did me proud, and hopefully he did the club proud. I thought he played very well. That's not just a biased view. I'm sure it's a view of a number of people I've spoken to. And that's following on from his debut at Wigan at the end of last season, which I thought he handled very well as well.
I thought he did actually, mate. Yeah, he's very accomplished for such a young lad.
Good evening, Paul. It's Jeff Burnage here.
Hi, Jeff.
There's ups and downs in a footballer's life, aren't there, Paul? And I haven't been able to see as much of the youth team games as I used to, and always loved doing. But the first time I saw him play was on an evening where he experienced all the ups and all the downs. A fantastic 30-yarder in the FA Youth Cup to look like it had knocked Tottenham Hotspur out of the FA Youth Cup, and then they equalise in injury time. Right,
that brings back memories, Jeff. It was an unbelievable evening in many ways. But
that's the career. Got to be able to cope with the ups and the downs, and it's great seeing him in the squad. And if it wasn't for Jason Malumbi that Stan's so desperate to see in the team, maybe Billy would be a bit nearer. You never know. By the way, I am joking. I love Stan really, and he's a big Billy Mitchell fan, aren't you, Stan?
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
It's healthy competitions. Jason's come to Millwall on loan for season loan from Brighton, as everyone knows. He's, from what I've seen, he's a very accomplished player, young player, hungry player, pretty much similar to Billy. So hopefully they can spur each other on. I think it's hopefully good for the club. Hopefully everyone sees that some youngsters coming through is a good thing. Hopefully they can bring something to the club apart from energy, some quality also. I think Jason's very very close. Who knows, maybe tomorrow.
From a parent point of view, the football club look like they treat our youngsters really well. I'm going to obviously ask you the question: how do they look after the boys?
I'm not just saying because I'm on radio. I'm absolutely over the moon of how Billy's been treated at Millwall. I also have another son, Zach, who is I won't mention the name, a rival to Millwall, and they're both. It's hard. Academies can be tough. It can be tough for parents.
Sure,
it can be tough for kids. There's a lot of, as we said earlier, ups and downs, and it's a lot of heartache for some kids, and there's only very few that actually make it through. So we're sort of very glad, really, that Billy's got to the stage where he is.
Yeah, Paul, it's Stan here. How are you doing? All right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, good. The first time I see your boy actually play was round about, I think, about April, March time, because a cousin of mine, he's a train spotter of long standing, I used to know, Ed. And as it turned out, Millwall were playing Charlton, the under-21s or whatever it was. So I went down there, and And that was
the game at the Valley, was it?
Yeah, and we lost 2-1, and
That's correct.
And there was a bit of history in it for me personally, because that was the first time I'd actually witnessed Charlton beating Millwall in 51 years. I mean, I actually witnessed last time I witnessed it in '68. Yeah, but the next time I saw him was when he come on in the pre-season friendly at the Den against the Spanish team, and he come on, didn't we, about 15, 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, it was short.
But I tell you what, though, I thought he done really well, because he was up against a team that are technically very good. I mean, how many of them in the first team, I don't know, but they are technically good, the Spanish, and I thought he done really well. He did.
Mate. I mean, I think the fans remember a crunching tackle that he made in that game, and that's something I'm sure the Millwall fans like, his passion.
Yeah, they do.
And that's something that Billy has got in abundance, and I think he showed it on that particular appearance. And in others also. I mean, it's hard, you know, when you're coming on as a youngster and you're making appearances for 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. You know, you've got a short time frame to show your worth. So that's hard, but you know that's football for you, and it's something you have to contend with. And he's aware of that. And you know, I think don't want to keep harping on about the Oxford game, but Neil Harris kept him on for 90 minutes, and you know, I spoke to a lot of people that evening who were really, really complimentary about his performance. And I'm a critical dad, and I say as it is. I've played semi-pro myself, and you know, I've had a lot of harsh words given to me, but on that night I couldn't commend him highly enough. I thought he was excellent.
Paul, just very quickly then, what is Billy hoping to achieve, and what can we expect from him for the rest of the season?
Well, he's got to work hard with the under-23s and keep his performances to a high level. I think when he does get a chance, and hopefully there will be further chances for him to be involved with the first team during the course of the season, he has to prove that he's worthy, and he's eager for that opportunity. He's hoping that will come. You know, obviously, no one wants anyone to be injured, but sometimes you need a bit of luck to get your chance. And I'm sure when that chance comes, he'll show the fans and do the club proud.
Paul, well, I know all Lions fans are really excited to see his journey. Hopefully, we maybe get you on at a later date and we can come on and talk about Billy's progress then. But for now, Paul Mitchell, really pleasure to talk to you, Paul, there. Just quickly, because next we will be talking about a Millwall legend, I just want to say that Jackie Knight, or Miss Millwall 1969 on Twitter, would like to thank those of you that have donated thus far towards sending the donated Millwall shirts, boots, stationery to the Gambian school children who she taught to sing Millwall songs oh so wonderfully. Jackie is still some way off her target, but please, can we try to help her out by searching for the Gambian Lions Just Giving page? Please make a donation, no matter how large or small. All of it helps genuinely. The Gambian Lions story is due to feature in the forthcoming QPR programme. But next we will be talking about a Millwall legend.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You are listening to the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined in the studio with the No One Likes Us Talking podcast, which is worrying because we're on radio and all we're going to do is talk about Millwall. But I am joined by George Lampy, Jeff Burnage and Stan Godwin. Now, it's time for a little bit of a discussion, because are these Millwall players, are they legends or are they heroes? And this week's proposal was John Fashanu by Mickey Bran. George, I'll start with you. Okay. Legend or a hero?
Right. Well, I think Mickey has given us a bit of a dilemma here, actually, because Fashanu, I think there are only certain legends at Millwall. We're not a great big club, the likes of United, or where they might have loads and loads. I think we have about half a dozen. But I think Fash was a great player for Millwall, a great forward. He wasn't with us very long, so I don't think he could fall into a legend category. But the time he was with us, he was much loved by Millwall fans, and still is today, because he was a rough, tough player, but he had great skill, athleticism. He was a really top-notch player, and I'm sure the boys will agree with me on that, actually.
Jeff, before I ask you, is the term legend thrown about a little bit too easily now? Because you don't have to do much to be deemed a club legend now, do you? Is that fair?
I think it is fair. I mean, because from the terraces, they are legends, mate. Yeah, they are, and the proof of
Not
that.
necessarily. I didn't mean Fash, but I mean, a lot of the new players now. One season, two, and now they go, he's a legend.
But the proof of them putting is when former players come back and they're introduced. I mean, we really, really love seeing those people come back. And if Fash was ever to come back and go on the pitch, and I think it's a bit doubtful. Then I think he would get a great reception. I mean, he was George Graham's signing, wasn't he? And unfortunately, just before my time started on the board, previous chairman Alan Thorne sold Neil Ruddock and John Fashanu, one to Tottenham, one to Wimbledon. It hurt, but Fash did a great job for us while he was with us, didn't he, Stan?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, picking up the point about legends and hero, I mean, at the end of the day in football, only the fans can bestow greatness. I mean, it don't matter what medals you get, it's what the fans think. At the end of the day counts, right?
The fans helped create your legacy, Stan.
Well, that's right, yeah. I mean, you've got players down there that, I can think of two in particular just before that time, like Phil Walker and Trevor Lee. I mean, they're absolute legends at Millwall. And as Chef said, they come down in there, they actually loved. And I don't disagree with him. If old Fash the Bash walked on the pitch at Millwall today, I mean, he would get an ovation like Teddy Sheringham got all them years ago at Rhino's testimonial. I've got absolutely no doubt about that, right? But see, what with old Fash, I mean, you knew what you got, didn't you? I mean, there was one way of playing, and if you were the defender in the way of the ball, well, there was only ever going to be one outcome, and you weren't going to get the ball, right? And to be fair, I mean, that sort of thing carried him on. He went to Wimbledon, done much the same there.
And went on and played for England. So.
Yeah, well, I was just about to say that.
I beg your pardon.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
I thought you were going to forget that.
You nicked his punchline.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Won't be the last time either, will it, Stan?
So is it a unanimous decision then in the studio for all three of you? Fash is a legend.
I would think a hero, actually.
Okay, hero.
Yeah.
Jeff? Hero. Oh, well, I was wrong then from the start. Stan, please save me.
I would say legend, personally.
Legend.
Personally.
You won't get Stan agreeing with me. He was going to say hero until he heard me.
You nearly had the hat-trick ball then, didn't you? But, all right, 2 for hero. 2. So it is hard, though, because where do you fall on that line, a legend and a hero? How is it for you?
Well, I think a legend has got to play for you for some time. If I was to say to these two guys, that Harry Cripps and Barry Kitchener are legends at Millwall, they wouldn't disagree with me for 1 second. But both of them men played for Millwall for a substantial amount of time. We take Fash. What a great player he was. What a great forward, and he emphasised everything that we love. He would, fight for the ball, and he would score great goals. But he was only there a short amount of time. So as much as we loved the fella, he's not in the same class or category as the other fellas who played hundreds of games.
But then the opposite to that is, right, I mean, some of the players that we're referring to, they would sign for a club and they could be there 2 or 3 years, 4 years in some cases. That doesn't happen too much today. You get a
There's
player.
not a lot of loyalty.
Well, not necessarily that. Well, there's an element of that. But what I'm getting at is, you've now got freedom of contract and all the rest of it. I mean, would people say that Lee Gregory's a legend or a hero? I mean, now personally, I would argue that he's a legend. But what I'm saying is, his time at Millwall.
You give that away a bit freely, don't you? Then legend.
No, I'm just saying. But what I'm saying is, his time at Millwall was relatively short in comparison to others, because that's what happens now.
Well, you're saying he gave it away there a little bit earlier. Are you saying that he's not necessarily a legend, Gregory?
Well, I mean, I don't think he is. No, I mean, he played for us and he did very well for us. But I would think he comes nowhere near a legend, as much as he's much loved and appreciated. I wonder what you think, Jeff.
I think that term legend, it's not normally bestowed immediately they leave, is it? It's something a few years pass and you look back and you think, that guy was a legend. But he's only been gone a few months, hasn't he? So,
a bit like
but
Jesse
this is the
Selfridge.
argument I made. Now fans say legend when they're still at the club, and it's a bit we're a bit quick to
perhaps
to
the
label
word
him.
has been
Dan somewhat. Well, I'm delighted to say on the phone now, joining us on the show is Sam Gardiner. Sam, the last time you were on, weirdly, was the last time I was here with the Millwall boys as well. You called from a curry house. I remember it like it was last night. The drinks were flowing, and the songs certainly were as well, weren't they?
They certainly were, and we're in the bottom of a Chinese tonight with a few waiters side by side ready for you whenever you guys get a little sing-along going. No, we're joking, I'm in a tie.
Oh, lovely. Well, Sam, it has been the international break. Obviously, real football returns this weekend. Millwall play Blackburn.
Exactly.
What have you been impressed with so far in Millwall season?
I've been impressed with how quickly I think we've gelled. I mean, granted, you'll still get the fans that say, it's not quite working and the pessimists. But, if you look at it from a distance, we've got a whole new squad. And I saw that as something quite exciting at the start of the season because you have like a mini generation, if you like, of football clubs. And we kind of run our few seasons where we got promoted, stayed up, done very well. And, it was going to take a little bit of time, but I think it's the best start to a season we've had in, the last 4 or 5 seasons? I mean, we tend to start pretty poorly and have a bit of a stretch after the new year, don't we? So I'm very happy with how the season started.
Yeah, that's right, Sam. Do you remember Fashanu, or are you too young for that?
Do I remember
John Fashanu?
No, unfortunately. Well, I say unfortunately, but
see.
I am a little bit too young. I started going in 95, but...
No, you're not as old as us guys in the studio, so that's fair enough, matey.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but...
No, that's fair enough. No. I mean, I think you make a good point about the start we've made, and certainly about the starts we've made the last few seasons, that's for sure. But hopefully he looks like he's getting things right. Are you happy with the guys that have come into the team?
Certainly. I mean, it's... Look, when Matt Smith first came off, I thought, he would have been a good signing a couple of years ago, but I was open to, having an open mind on him for the simple fact that the last few clubs he's played at, the QPRs, the Fulhams, they all play through the middle. Something that people say they want to see Millwall playing total football, whatever it may be, but it's not Millwall, is it? Let's face it. As soon as there'd be a couple goals where the keeper passes it to the right back and we concede, everyone will be going mental. So playing how we play, with width, with a striker that is winning every header up front, I've got no problem with it. I think it's good to see. Sometimes it's frustrating if it's too relied upon, the long ball, but I love Morrison, and I loved Morrison when he was playing for us, but for the last 2 seasons, whenever he played, he didn't win a header. Do you know what I mean?
No.
So no one has such a complaint when it's effective. And quote me if I might be wrong, but he's been involved in pretty much every goal we've scored this season. So combine that with, Mahoney, Tomo having his first full season, I'm optimistic. Very optimistic. But it's what people deem as optimistic. I bet on us to be 10th or 12th at the start of the season.
So in your time of watching, Sam, who would you say is the best Millwall player you've seen?
Wow, that's a good one. My favourite player has got to be Tim Cahill. I mean, he just I think he epitomises what we're about. We had a little bit of a extra added kind of sentiment towards him. We sponsored him in the back of the programme when he first came, remembering my dad's, and he's just always done well, and he always spoke highly of us. So for me, it's probably got to be Tim Cahill. And I think a lot of my generation, who've been going for the last 20, maybe 25 years, we grew up with him. Along with Neil Harris. Him and Neil Harris have got to be my favourite 2 players. But yeah, Tim Cahill, I thought he was class, wasn't he? And you could even say world class, so because he'd done it on the world stage. So yeah, Tim Cahill for me.
Sam, just quickly, what are your expectations for the rest of the season?
I think we're going to have peaks and troughs. We're going to go through little runs where we probably don't win in 6, and everyone will get on Neil Harris's back, which is probably my least favourite thing about the club at the moment, because I find it hard to fathom how some people can be against him. I mean, if you take out his whole managerial career, his whole playing career for Millwall and judge him on his last 5 seasons, I don't think he'd get sacked by any club. So that's one thing that's frustrating me at the moment. But I think anything on top of last season in terms of, pushing mid-table is great for us. It's fantastic. And people need to have a certain understanding of who we are. You know, let's face
I
it,
agree
everyone
with
talks
that.
about it, but
Yeah.
you know, a bit of perspective. It goes a long way. Do you know what I mean?
Well, Sam, we'll let you get back to your meal. Thank you for being tonight's
Can I
fan
just
in the
say one
Dugout.
thing, just as you mentioned about my mum, just if anyone who has donated, anyone that hasn't donated can help out, because as we know, it's all a good cause, and it's all about getting out there now and finishing the project, if you like.
Yeah,
100%.
Well
We're going to talk next all about it. Sam, thank you for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. Sam, the fan in the Dugout then, but he was right. Sam just mentioned it there. Next, we will be talking about the Together for 10.
This programme was previously broadcast live on Love Sport Radio, so some items may be out of date. For more podcasts or to listen live, visit lovesportradio.com.
You are listening to the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined in the studio with the No One Likes Us Talking podcast, but we are talking everything where Millwall is concerned. We're going to be looking at that game against Blackburn Rovers just a little bit later. But firstly, I'm delighted to say we are joined on the phone by Margaret Mizen, MBE. Last week we spoke with Millwall fan Dan Poore about him and his Charlton supporting mate Craig, who have organised a charitable walk in memory of young Charlton fan Rob Knox and young Millwall fan Jimmy Mizen, who were both tragically murdered. They are calling it Together for 10, and both Charlton and Millwall fans will walk together for 10 miles. The walk is going to take place on the day of the Millwall versus Charlton match at the Den on the 9th of November, and it coincides with the annual Jimmy's Day at the Den. Tonight we are joined obviously by Margaret, and it's Margaret's going to tell us all about this brilliant event and how you can get involved. Margaret, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a little bit of your time this evening. How did it come about to make an event like this happen?
Well, it wasn't our idea, actually. It was Dan's idea. He came to me and said he had this idea about raising some money for both charities, and this is what he'd like to do. And it was such a great idea. And so we're a little bit humbled, really, that people are so kind. So the idea is that Dan and his group of Millwall supporters and Charlton supporters walk 10 miles, as you said, and raising money for the charities. But also, it's a coming together of the fans as well. So it's going to be exciting. And the fact it coincides with the annual Jimmy's Day is great, because obviously we've got Nikki, who's organising that along with all her lovely team, Terry Reese, etc. So it's going to be an exciting day, actually. So we're really looking forward to it.
Hello, Margaret. It's George here.
Hi, George.
Hello. I never liked Charlton being in the same league as us, I'll be perfectly honest. But the fact that, when they are, it enables you guys to be able to have, us to honour Rob and Jimmy. That's nice, because that's how it was. That's how you used to do it before, of course, wasn't it? So it's quite nice, actually, isn't it?
It's nice. It's nice for us. We've got to know Rob's parents really well, and they were killed within a couple of weeks of each other. So I think it's a really nice way to bring everyone together, bring the fans and us, and it highlights what is going on our streets, so we can really make a stand against all the violence. So for us, it couldn't be better. I understand what you're saying, but
it's only joking, of course.
You've got to remember, we haven't lost a game.
Oh, don't say that, Margaret. It's Jeff here, Margaret. How are you?
I am very well.
Yeah, and Barry, is he doing okay?
Yeah, he's fine. To be honest with you, we're away at the moment. We're in Eastbourne, having a weekend away together. So he's sitting listening to me on the other side of the room.
What I like about this idea of combining Rob and Jimmy and the two charities is that I think, if we're honest, we've all got friends who support other teams. And occasionally when we're playing them, we do get together, whether it be in the pub before or after. Sometimes we even sit with them, or go upstairs to hospitality with them. It's fine. And so earlier on, I don't know if you were listening, Margaret, we were discussing Millwall legends. We've got two, Barry and yourself. I would regard those as legends, and I'm very, very happy for that day and can't wait.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for your kind words. I mean, we can't thank the Millwall fans enough. And I'm not just saying that, I'm not patronising. From the day that Jimmy was killed, we've had so much support. And, we talk about family, and it really is family. So for us, I mean, the highlight of my year, bear in mind we do a lot through the year and school visits and things, but the highlight of my year is our annual Jimmy's Day. I look forward to it so much.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a really exciting day this year.
Margaret.
But on top of that, the week before the annual Jimmy's Day, we are going to be working with the Millwall Community Scheme, going into schools with them and sharing Jimmy's story. So it's going to be kind of a bit of teamwork.
Yeah. Yeah, Margaret, staying here. I trust you're feeling well and enjoying your little break down at Eastbourne.
I'm having a great time, thank you.
Right. Well, I'm listening very carefully and just thinking about it is that if my memory serves me correctly, I think the first time that you had, or as far as I can recall, the first sort of joint day that we had on all this was back 10 years ago, wasn't it? In the 4-4 draw at Charlton when we played them, and you and Barry come onto the pitch with the other boys' parents, and and they wore that special shirt and all that. They'd been given permission, and have I got that right? It's about 10 years ago.
No, you have. To be perfectly honest, we were given shirts as well, but they gave us shirts that were so tight.
Well, yeah. It was
so embarrassing.
Yeah, mind you, it
Best
was
keep
cold.
that to yourself, Margaret.
Yeah,
Really.
it was cold that day, so I suppose yeah. But
that was, you're absolutely right, and that was done with the Charlton community.
Yeah, that's right.
Their,
But
Knives are in lives.
But I was saying, I looked at the video that's been produced, which is now doing the rounds on Twitter, and I sort of retweeted it on my Twitter feed. But what I was, you might know this. Do you know whether there's done a video of the same? Is on Facebook, the same video on Facebook? Because I can't find it. Because if it is, I'd like to share it. I mean, you may or may not know, but I just wondered.
No, I don't know. Actually, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
So I haven't seen that video, but I will find out and see if we can find it. It's got to be something. It's got to be there somewhere. So it could well be. So I'll let you know that one.
Right. Okay. Cheers,
Margaret. Before Together for 10, how can fans still get involved? What can they do to become involved and raise awareness for it?
Well, I think if it will be great if the fans support Dan and his team and do some fundraising for them, because that's what it's about. But it's also highlighting the violence that's on our streets, and it doesn't have to be like this. So it's making sure that they get that message out as well. I know that the Millwall fans in the past have a bad press. We know that it's not really fair, but let's make a stand and make our streets safer. And by highlighting the work that we're doing and Rob Knox's family are doing and all the other families actually help. So that's what we would like more than anything. Just highlight the good work that people are doing. And it's not, as I say, it's not just us. We're just one of many, many families trying to make a difference. But do support Dan, because it's great what he's doing. And also on the day, the Jimmy's Day, come and say hello to us. I think sometimes people are a bit frightened to say hello to us, but we love to meet up with people. So if they see us in the car park, come and say hello.
Well, we've loved chatting to you, Margaret. Thanks so much for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. We hope that we can raise awareness for Together for 10 and Jimmy's Day, and also that fans can still get involved. Margaret Mizen there,
Cheers,
MBE.
Margaret.
Also, I do just want to say, don't forget the objective of Together for 10 is to help to beat street violence and knife crime. You can help by following Together for 10 on Facebook and Twitter, and you can also help by searching Virgin Money, giving Together for 10 and making a donation. Please do. Next, though, we turn our attention to football. Millwall take on Blackburn, and we will be talking to Rich Sharp all about the game.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You are listening to the Millwall Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined in the studio with the No One Likes Us Talking podcast, George Lampe, Jeff Burnage and Stan Godwin. Well, the Championship is back this weekend after an international break. Millwall take on Blackburn Rovers. We are delighted to say we have got an opposition view. Rich Sharp, a reporter for the Lancashire Telegraph. Rich, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time, especially on a Friday night. A very important fixture this weekend. What are your thoughts going into the game?
Good evening. Rovers have probably had the most difficult 6 fixtures put together of anyone in the division, I think, in the first 6. And looking on paper, they've probably got a more favourable run in this next 5 before the international break, starting with Millwall. So I think if they've got any top 6 aspirations this year, then they need to start to kick on during this run. But in the games they've played against Millwall in the last Championship season, they certainly know it's not going to be an easy ride for them.
Well, it won't be an easy ride. You know, it's a tough game, Millwall versus Blackburn. It has been indifferent. But Millwall, you know, they're going to fancy their chances for this one, because Blackburn just can't seem to be... Consistency seems to be the issue for Blackburn. Is that the problem there, Rich?
Probably last season, I think you could probably say so. They won 4 in a row in January, and that took them to 8th. And then they won 1 in the next 11, when they did have some injury issues, but then finished the season with 4 wins in the next 6. So they're a team who when they're hot, and when they're without a win, they can struggle at times. This year's probably they've won a few tight games, lost a few tight games, so they probably could look at it. They could have a few more points that they've got quite easily, but won a couple of 1-0s, so they've probably not been scoring the goals that they'd have wanted in these first 6, and that's certainly an area they'll be looking to improve after the international break.
So who are the important players for Blackburn? I mean, is Bradley Dack a key player? Do the results improve when he's in the team, or is there somebody else we need to know about?
I wouldn't say they improve when they're in the team. When he scores, he scored his first goal of the season against West Brom, but obviously went on to lose that one. That was his first goal of the season. They've had a fairly settled side. I think there's just a couple of positions where they're really looking to nail down who the number 9 is, whether they're going with Danny Graham or whether they're looking to move beyond him. They spent $5 million on Sam Gallagher in the summer, so whether he's going to be the out-and-out number 9 this season. Gallagher's also played wide right, as has Adam Armstrong, and I think it's just finding those couple of positions really for him to nail down. But a couple of the new signings have settled in well. Greg Cunningham, they signed on loan from Cardiff at left back, who's been excellent since he's joined, and Bradley Johnson's probably brought some experience in the middle of the park that they previously didn't have. So they're probably 2 players who've they're not the most flashy players, but they've made a real improvement since they've come in this summer.
What's realistically, Rich? Where are Blackburn looking to finish? I mean, you know, are you good enough to make the top 6?
I mean, they were 15th last year, so it's a fairly decent gap they've got to plug to get to the top 6. But that's certainly where the manager's looking, is into his 3rd full season now. So I think he's thinking from his point of view in charge that they need to try and close that gap. They're probably one of 10 or 12 teams who think with a decent run they can push towards the top 6. I think if you ask the fans at the start of the season, they'd probably say, the optimistic ones might say playoffs, but I think the majority would probably say anywhere between 7th and 13th really. So they're probably looking to improve and push into that top half. Whether they've done enough, maybe business-wise, or they can improve the personnel that they've got to push that top 6. I'm not quite sure.
Rich, it's Stan here. I'm interested to hear. I mean, you say this is Tony Mowbray's 3rd season, right? And I mean, I personally, I think he's a top quality manager personally. But I'm just wondering, you know, do you think he might be? Do you think his time could be coming to an end where fans are getting a little bit fidgety? They possibly think, well, perhaps, he's a bit too conservative in his ways, or what? Like, I mean, because the reason I say that is, I know it was a while ago now, but my experience in the past is where you've had teams that have been in the Premier League and they've had a bit of success there. When they come out there, you know, the supporters think, well, it's only a matter of time before we go back. And if they're not back in the season, they start getting the ache and start calling it the manager's heads and everything else. But would you say he's under a bit of pressure?
This is very different Rovers to the one that came down from the Premier League, I'd say. I mean, they spent quite a bit of money, particularly wages-wise, using the parachute money. And that legacy, really, of the contracts they handed out has probably only just gone within the last 18 months. And the one thing Mowbray has brought is stability. On and off the pitch, things are a lot calmer with the ownership and such like. But I think how he sees it is that probably fans can get, you know, a bit bored of hearing the same messages over and over. Obviously, he had 15 games to try and keep them up. They got 22 points, but went down by a point. They got promotion from League One, which everyone probably thought was the aim, and they never shied away from that. Was what they were going for. probably had a bit of a free hit last year, first season back, and I think this year is probably the first one that, he's really going to get judged on. And you think, the manager's shelf life now is I don't know where he is on the longest serving, but he'll certainly be in the top 20, you'd imagine, coming up 3 years. So, yeah, I just think he thinks he's got to show the fans that they are making improvements. They've made a couple of big signings. Obviously, Gallagher was $5 million. They spent $6 on Brereton the year before. Other than that, they've not spent that great. But they're two big financial commitments from the ownership. So
very big indeed, Rich. Super money, considering it is the Championship.
Yeah, no.
But what is your score prediction? Just very quickly, Rich. Sorry, we have to push you. What is your score prediction for the weekend? And bearing in mind, it is the Millwall Fan Show.
Yeah, Rich. If you want to come back on.
To be fair, I was thinking that before I came on that you'd ask me. I know both teams. Both got beaten at Fulham, but they both had pretty tight games here and there. So I can see it being 1-0 either way. And from my point of view, I'm hoping it's Rovers who can nick it.
I'm sure you are. 1-0 for the Rovers. Rich, a real pleasure to talk to you tonight. Rich Sharp there from the Lancashire Telegraph. Well, he's gone for 1-0 for Rovers. Very quickly, before I get your score prediction, George, I want to know, you have a few announcements to make.
Yes, the police have informed us of pubs for Saturday. It's the Fenhurst pub, which is opposite the stadium. They take supporters, and the Golden Lion, which is about 15 minutes away. Plus, you can drink in the town if you want to. So there's a couple of pubs allocated for Millwall supporters.
Perfect spots for drinking. George, your score prediction for the weekend?
1-1.
1-1. Oh, 1-1. Jeff?
Millwall 1-0.
Millwall 1-0. Stan?
Millwall 2-0.
Right, Millwall 2-0. We have the score predictions. Jeff, I know you wanted to talk about the Lionesses just quickly as well.
Very quickly, everyone knows where Fisher's ground is in St Paul's Stadium in Rotherhithe. Millwall Lionesses' first league game of the season, Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock, against Hoddesdon. Everyone's welcome. It's free entry for all Millwall fans.
And what are they hoping to achieve this year, Jeff?
As everyone knows, they've been sent down 4 levels to Tier 6. So far, they've played in the FA Cup away and won, and in the League Cup and won. So this is their first home game for this team. What is nice about the team is they're young, and a lot of them are really passionate about playing for Millwall and think their dreams have come true. I'll be there. Please, everyone that can think of it.
For anyone to go.
It's going to add a couple of thousand to it, ain't it, Charlie?
there you go. No matter that it's free, people should be paying if, Jeff, you're going to be there.
2 o'clock Sunday. Stop messing about. 2 o'clock Sunday. Millwall Lionesses' first home game of the season.
Well, there we have it. Millwall are back in action against Blackburn Rovers this week. The Championship is back. This has been the Millwall Fan Show with No One Likes Us Talking podcast. We will see you next Friday.
This programme was previously broadcast live on Love Sport Radio.